Before we unpack all of this, I want everyone to realize that it is very crucial to understanding Nakba Day, which is understanding what is happening now and has been happening for a long time. Each year on May 15 is a crucial day for Palestinians, especially this year. It is known as Nakba Day, in which a catastrophe took place in 1948. Nakba Day still continues. The truth is clear that since 1948, Zionist movements and Israelis had forced Palestinians to flee their land and begun starting their genocidal campaign to completely get rid of the Palestinian race. Starting in late 1947, the Zionist movement depopulated 531 cities, towns, and villages, as well as committing up to 155 massacres. One massacre they had done was in April 1948, where they had launched an attack on Palestinians residing in the village of Deir Yassin. Zionist militias brutally hurt them with executions, mutilations of their corpses, and rape. As a result, 730,000 Palestinians were displaced from their homes. 73 years later, in which Palestinians are at their 54th year of apartheid and subjected to ethnic cleansing, Sheikh Jarrah is facing Israeli settler colonialism. Sheikh Jarrah is a neighborhood north of Jerusalem and one of the few remaining places representing Palestinian identity. Israeli settlers were given the okay to evict Palestinians residing in Sheikh Jarrah to reach their end goal of having the Jewish majority. Palestinians have no equal rights as a settler, so their attempt to save their home was blocked by the Israeli courts. So peaceful protests had occurred. In response to peaceful protests, Israeli forces attacked the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, which is one of the holiest sites for a Muslim. They had the audacity to throw stun grenades, inflict harm with rubber bullets, and destroy the place during one of the holiest months, Ramadan. On top of that, Israeli forces also bombed Gaza. More than 330 Palestinians were injured, and they had to use their prayer mats as makeshift mats to carry the wounded who had been praying. People argue and deem this as two nations in an ongoing war conflict. This is completely false. Israel is the powerful side and the oppressor to Palestinians. Israel has tons of nuclear bombs, chemical weapons, a developed army and navy, and so much support from the Western powers, such as the US giving military aid of $3.8 billion annually. It is an apartheid state, as the Human Rights Watch had accused in 2021. Their evidence was from the 1973 Apartheid Convention and the 1998 Rome Statute, which states that three elements have to occur for the crime of apartheid to apply. The requirements are an intent by one group to dominate the other, systematic oppression by one racial group over another, or one or more inhumane acts. Some of the inhumane acts are creation of separate reserves and ghettos, which Palestinians are grouped into. Israel groups them into one of the four places in the area for Palestinian citizens of Israel: in East Jerusalem, in the West Bank, or in Gaza, which is uninhabitable by now, as studies has predicted. Israel continues to still ban Palestinian refugees and their descendants from moving into any of the territories it controls, while encouraging any Jewish person anywhere in the world to immigrate to Israel. So, to this day, 7.2 million Palestinian refugees are across the world, spread out and in the camp still. Another inhumane act is expropriation of land property. Israeli politicians love to do this to Judaize an area and ensure Israeli Jewish dominance. Needless to say, this is in apartheid. This is not a complex topic to discuss. It's not about religion, not about Hamas, who, by the way, is a terror organization and similarly to Israel, puts innocent children in harm's way. The media loves to focus on the shots fired by Hamas's rocket, when in actuality they shouldn't, since this doesn't excuse the war crimes made by both Hamas and Israeli militias. Hamas's views and actions do not represent Muslims or Palestinians. People are not their governments. The media should cover this with solid facts that there is no conflict when the Israeli government tries to conceal this evident power dynamic seen. Additionally, this is not ill-mannered towards Jews, but this is and has always been about human rights. Anti-Semitism is not welcomed and drives away the real message of this movement. This is about freeing Palestine and for the people to get the justice and peace they deserve. Be on the right side of history. Do not fall into Israel's deluded propaganda, including this ceasefire they have said would occur, but however, there is no ceasefire if other parts of Palestine are still being attacked. A ceasefire is not enough and far from justice. The 14-year blockade should be lifted, and Palestinians should have more than 6 hours of electricity. Please, 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 please educate yourselves and continue to share awareness. Knowledge is one of the most powerful tools, and it does have an impact. Why do you think the international media offices were destroyed by Israel and Gaza? So no matter what, do not be silent. Sign petitions, attend protests, fight censorship on social media by liking and commenting in posts, boycott companies who support Israel's colonization of Palestine, such as Puma and Ben & Jerry's, write to your state representatives, do research, have a conversation to inform others, donate to charities, and ensure accountability is held. So with all of this, and no matter what, I hope you take away from this is free Palestine, do not be neutral, and take action. Please, please, please take action.